Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Rainmaker Stories. I have today with me Prerna Parija. She's a dear friend and has spent over 15 years in different companies. Highlight of it has been building Zomato from day zero to IPO. And most recently, she was also the co-founder of Blue Tick AI, an edtech or slash HR tech company. And I now hear that Prerna is coming back to Zomato to play a role in its 10 to 100 journey. So, welcome to the conversation, Prerna. Thank you so much for taking out the time.
Thanks, Nishta. It's a pleasure to be here. I think what you are doing through Rainmaker Stories is something we definitely need, and I'm super excited to be a part of this to contribute to this in whatever way possible.
Right. So, we'll dive into our first question with this, Prerna. So, you
Yeah.
transitioned from a very well established career to co founding a startup, which I'm sure would have been a significant shift for you. How do you reflect on the overall experience of being a founder and the impact it had on your professional journey? Are there specific lessons or insights gained that you believe will shape your future endeavors?
Yeah. Yeah. So while on one end, the founder journey or the entrepreneurial journey was very exciting, very empowering. This whole process of building something that you believe in, building that from scratch, and the autonomy that you get in it, the empowerment that you get in it, the first 1,000 users that you get while making money, all of that was like the high of the journey, I would say. But at the same time, entrepreneurial journey is like it also humbled me a lot. It made me realize things that I had taken for granted while I was in the corporate world. I think money was something I always took for granted, probably. And money, and the bigger part was, I think, the quality of resources that you get in the corporate job. So we had like excellent folks with us at Zomato, right? So I always assume this is the quality of folks that you will get. But when you have little money and you have to make do with all of that, so you do compromise on the quality of resources, right? So it kind of humbled me, and it made me respect the corporate world also a lot more, which at times I had taken for granted while I was in that world.
Right.
And yeah, and Also it made me realize few things about my own self. I think I realized, so in a startup, you can do the 0 to 1, you can do the 1 to 10, you can do the 10 to 100, right?
Hmm.
You play different roles in each of them, and there are different strengths which come to play in each of these. So
Hmm.
while doing my startup, I realized that my strength is in the 1 to 100, like both 1 to 10 and 10 to 100 is what where my forte lies and which I enjoy more. While I enjoyed this journey, but it also made me realize what I'm very, very good at. So yeah,
Right.
those would be my learnings and like reflections going forward.
No, Prerna, this is so right. I have been talking to a lot of my entrepreneur friends because it happens in our, that midlife sort of a career journey when you're always just wanting to know, okay, what are the entrepreneurs doing? And this has been such a common challenge, what you said, the quality of resources, which we
Yeah,
take for granted in the corporate world. And when you start up on your own, it really hits you, okay, it's not like you need to really work hard and at times do some of that heavy lifting, admin work,
yeah,
lot of that research work, which you thought, oh, I'm not going to do it after like, the initial 3, 4 years of my career. But if you're starting up
yeah.
at any age, you end up doing a lot of that heavy lifting also.
Yeah, you like, I think I a big part of my startup journey, I was learning Canva and doing posters, and like I became separately skilled at Canva. Like these are things I never imagined like I will be doing. I thought I think the glamour is overstated. There are a bunch of things, the grinding that you go through when you're building something from zero, literally from scratch, is
Hmm.
it's really understated. Like both sides need to come out when people sort of make that decision whether they want to go for entrepreneurship or not.
True. And Prerna, in your case, it was a very interesting scenario as well. Our dear friend, like my friend and your husband and friend, I'm sure, Mohit Jurani, he was the co-founder. Like he,
Yeah.
your co-founder in this. So working alongside your husband can bring out a blend of personal and professional dynamics, right? So, how did this
Hmm.
unique partnership influence the decision making processes within the company? And what aspects of this collaboration do you think contributed positively? And I'm sure there may have been some challenges too. So, if you can share like both sides of the coin with us.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I think this was one of the most interesting parts of my entrepreneurial journey. Like I'll call Mohit Jurani MJ because my third co-founder, his name is also Mohit. So me and my partner MJ, just to give a little context to everyone, like me and my partner MJ, we are like very, very different in terms of personality, skill strengths, what we bring to the table, and how we operate. And in fact, that was one of the reasons why we decided to become co-founders, because we knew we will bring unique things to the table and it will be like a complete thing. Like obviously we knew that when you're working together and you're so different, it will have its some set of challenges, but nothing we can't deal with. Like we've been married for 10 years and been fine so far. So we thought this also we'll manage. That should not be a big deal. Um, and yes, being life partners, I think the because you spend so much time together, uh, that aspect itself had its advantages and disadvantages. When you spend a lot of time, you spend a lot more time on the problem at hand, and therefore you get to better quality outcomes. Like our morning coffee started with that. Like when we would go for a walk, like we were always trying to go deep into the problem. And obviously, as you can imagine, that had its advantage and disadvantage.
Mm.
Uh, as I said, MJ and me have been married for 10 years, but he was clearly not prepared for my work persona. He didn't really see that coming, who I am when I'm at work. So
Mm.
I'm very relentless and cutthroat when it comes to work. I don't care who's on the other side of the table, even if it's my husband. I ask uncomfortable questions if work is not done.
Mm.
And I push really hard on getting things done. Like my team at Zomato would like if they ever see this, they're going to they'll laugh and they're going to smile and they'll agree. But yeah, even MJ will agree. But like he's a very different person. He's a much more creative person and he has his own pace and process of doing things. Uh, and as you can imagine, like these are very, very different ways of operating. Although our work was very different, like I was working on growth, he was working more on content and product, but there are
Mm.
always overlaps and decisions and that you need to together kind of
Right.
thrash it out, right?
Mm.
So this our equation, the way we operate, the stress of like kind of making blue tick stand out, like bring it to some level of fruition, that
Mm.
the whole pressure of it, I think that took a big toll on MJ's mental health as well.
Mm.
And there was a point, I think that's like I will confess on this, like while we are chatting, that was the lowest point in our personal relationship. Like
Mm.
we got to a point where we were barely, like we were spending almost 24 hours together with each other, but we were barely talking, like talking beyond like work related. And that was also quite transactional.
Mm.
Because the whole stress and like we just couldn't see beyond certain things.
Mm.
That impacted our relationship hugely, in fact, I would say. But thankfully, like with, so he believes a lot in meditation. He kind of got over his mental, like whatever the low point in his mental health. And after a while, like I also worked on how do we make this equation work? Like this is
Mm.
not possible, right?
Yeah.
So we kept our egos aside. I think ego also comes into play
Mm.
somewhere in this whole equation.
Mm.
So we try to tap into, because we have unique strengths. So we try to tap into each other's strengths
Mm.
um, while keeping our ego aside. And how do we make this work? So
Right.
while the journey started with a lot of optimism that we will like kill it, we'll do something great, etc. We'll become a power couple. Like I can't tell you how the journey started. Then in the middle, it was like a
Mm.
massive fall where the relationship was at its lowest. And
Mm.
then in the end, I would say we came out much stronger. Like right now, both of us respect each other a lot for what we bring to the table,
Mm.
while understanding that this is his way of operating or this is her way of operating.
Wow.
So I'm super grateful for, like, despite its challenges, I'm super grateful for the journey and what it did to our relationship.
Yeah. But like you said, Prerna, this is such a honest sort of a share because people on the outside, when they see Vinita saying, like the co-founder of Sugar, like again a husband and wife couple.
Yeah,
And there are like many other examples when you look at those husband and wife couples, or even how Shah Rukh Khan and Gauri Khan are always doing it so good. Oh, successful actor, successful like interior designer and everything. You
yeah,
feel, oh yeah, power couples is so easy with what you see in the front. But there's so many things at the background which go. And like you said, of course, if you get over the challenges, you come out stronger. But I'm sure
yeah.
the journey in itself is quite challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. You're like bang on, right? I also got sort of what you just said, like that's true for me. Also, I used to see this whole power couples and I used to feel very enamored by this like, okay, we can also be that power
Right.
couple. But getting to that power couple, it's like in itself that journey is like crazy. And if we didn't like I don't know what now about whether I want to become a power couple or not. But like I'm glad the journey strengthened our relationship.
Yeah. So, Prerna, talking about the sector you guys chose to build in, like EdTech or your career tech, HR tech, you've had pivots through your journey. So,
Mm.
and like as is evident from the pivots you've taken, this sector in general has seen a lot of rapid changes and advancements. What strategies did you employ to keep your business, adaptable and responsive to the market shifts? And looking back, are there any decisions you would reconsider or adjustments you would make to enhance the startup's resilience in this evolving sort of a edtech landscape? Like if some reflections you would like to share.
Yeah. Nisha, I think the question is relevant for every sector. What is hot and in high growth today
Mm,
becomes cluttered and commoditized in a few years' time. Like once something is hot, like there will be a lot of competition coming in and it becomes cluttered over a period of time. So if you are trying to build a large scale business, it is super important to execute really fast to identify your differentiators. Like how are you unique and what you bring, like which is 10x better than existing in the existing scenario. So getting to those, like to identifying and building your differentiator, that is a journey you need to quickly get to.
mm,
And the best strategy in execution, I would say, this is something we realized after some initial hiccups, is that the best strategy is always execution in an iterative manner. Like think through a high level plan. Don't spend too much time in trying to create a watertight plan. Like get to a 60-70% answer, do
mm,
a small scale execution to test, learn, improve, and then again iterate. So the journey to getting the right answer in no matter which field you are in, except for maybe 1% cases, I'll not comment on that. But for the larger set
mm,
of folks, it is always like think of obviously think of a good intelligent answer and test, iterate, you'll get to some better answer. The graph keeps getting better in terms of your arriving at the final real product market fit, I would say. The product, like you don't get to a product market fit immediately, right? वो
mm,
ये मतलब हम जब देखते हैं, like when we look at LinkedIn or when we look at like different stories, we kind of assume that the final product which came out was a product market fit, but it's always a journey. You go through so many iterations and
right.
pivots
Mm,
before you arrive at that. In
mm,
fact, in our own journey, initially, I remember our team used to feel bad when we used to pivot. We did bunch of pivots through our journey, and that is what, in fact, got us going, like brought us closer to the right answers. Uh, Initially as a team you might think, yeah, we did this, we were wrong, like now we have to change our strategy again. So but that's not how you typically, like I would like strongly recommend, don't look at it that way, because the pivot is what is getting you. So you have to be comfortable accepting that you were wrong and this is a slightly better answer. So I need to quickly change. Today I realize this is the right answer, so from tomorrow I execute something else. I don't have to be stuck in the past, right? And yeah, to your answer, like yeah, we did go through. So we started as a edtech firm. Like initially, it was like back in 2020 when this was not that crowded. We like my other co-founders. I was not a part of Blue Tick at that point in time. They were building a edtech startup, which was data analytics boot camps, which was very unique at that point in time. Right now, it is super cluttered.
mm,
And 2020, the space was hot. There was a lot of fundraise happening in the space, but these guys chose to make it a bootstrapped startup and continue this. But then later we pivoted when we wanted to bring more tech play into the whole equation. And through multiple pivots, we finally arrived at an answer where we were trying to revolutionize hiring for early professionals by
Mm.
making it more like measurement driven.
Right.
Uh, and Now, like if the last part that you asked me, could we have done something differently in this journey? I have often thought about it. In fact, one of the things that I feel is in early 2020,
Mm.
when I was even not even a part of Blue Tick, at that time, if we had taken this call to, instead of bootstrapping, take funds and quickly scale, because that is what would have made a big difference. Because the outcomes were brilliant. The kind of folks who were going through the boot camp, and they were
Mm.
like the initial set of folks who went through the boot camp, they would get hired in different companies, and the feedback we would get from the HR was like brilliant. They would say, please give us more such. They would take names of people. You gave us this guy, please can you give us more such folks?
Mm.
And we were like amazed by that. In fact, that was one of the reasons I was very excited to join Bluetooth, because I thought this is the kind of impact we would make
Mm.
in early professionals' lives.
Mm.
You were making them job ready essentially. But that was a call we took at that time, that we don't want to take pressure from investors and whatever. We want to build it like a bootstrap business.
Right.
But that was now in hindsight, I can say a bunch of stuff that we could have done this, we could have. So I honestly feel this is something I've thought that maybe this would have been a right call. But then again, at times I've also think in hindsight, a bunch of things look right.
Right.
Maybe that felt like the right call at that point in time.
Yeah. But like you said, Prerna, in this, I really take away that one important thing. Like you said, you're 60-70% sure, go out and execute it and keep
Hmm.
iterating. So, execution, iteration, you need that uh, ongoing cycle till you really hit the nail. At times, we
Yeah,
get too married to, oh, मैंने तो ये सोच के शुरू करा था, वो vision
correct.
कैसे गलत हो गई? I can't move beyond this. So
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
that flexibility is very important and seems like the key in all of this. This leads me to my next question, Prerna, which may be a little tough, I'm sure. Like, what led to your ultimate decision to discontinue the venture? And as individuals, that's the case with everyone, I would say. As individuals, we often grapple with this sunk cost fallacy. So, like, itna time de diya hai, to abhi how do I walk away with it? And I want something to show for it. Those sort of thoughts come to the
Yeah,
mind, right?
yeah.
So, did you face it too? And how did you just, overcome this? Or how was that entire phase? How did that unfold? Because when we talk of entrepreneurship, especially for people in the corporate job, they always, grass is greener on the other side. So we
Mm.
often diss our corporate careers and we're like, अरे
Yeah.
वो तो better होगा यार, so glamorous, the LinkedIn and everything, कितना अच्छा post कर रहे हैं, impact create. But nobody talks of these harder decisions. So could
Yeah.
you just, share your experience through it all?
Yeah, I think like the decision to discontinue obviously is not easy. In fact, it was tougher. So there were three of us. In fact, like me and my husband, like we decided to move on. Like the third co-founder is still, Blue Tick is not yet over. He's still trying to do something. He's still trying to build it. But for the two of us, I think three of us, we had discussed this. We were very clear. At least I was very clear. I think I was that person bringing sanity to the table, that like by this is the ongoing thing, as I said, right? Like with iterations you keep getting better.
Mm.
uh, so do you want to continue doing this, like, because there's also an opportunity cost as far as your career, like both of us, we are in the same family, we were literally doing this and there was little to no money in it, right? So do you continue doing this or not?
Mm.
So some part of it was obviously emotional call, and then some part of it is a rational call.
Mm.
So for me it was very clear, if we don't raise funds till December,
Mm.
we call it quits. Like at least I would have moved out. The other two could have continued or whatever. Like I was very clear that we give our all and we try to raise funds. And if it doesn't materialize, it doesn't.
Mm.
And yes, I also suffered from that sunk cost fallacy to some extent, because finally in my gut, I was feeling that we've hit the right answer. The kind of feedback I was getting from the initial pilots we were doing when we finally moved to that HR tech start, like the business model, that's when I realized this will make money, this is finally making sense. uh, but the beauty or the funny or the irony of entrepreneurship is that it is so exhausting. Like at times that also helps you get to an answer. Like by the time you arrived at the answer, you've been so exhausted doing so many things. uh, like at that point I was like, can I just continue this for a few more months? on my own. Like let's say if I don't have funds anymore, like we had run out of funds, can we just bootstrap it like on our own and do it for a few more months? Now that I know that this is most likely the right answer, uh, somewhere in my gut I got that feeling. But then also there was this rational part of me telling me that this is a never ending journey. You can keep doing, keep getting better at it. Maybe you get it, maybe you get the success, maybe you don't, right? And plus the what didn't help is obviously, or what helped get to an answer is this, the funding winter. Like it was very very tough to raise funds at this point in time, so that kind of accelerated this decision. Like there was this whole, the journey was full of exhaustion because of, first because of the number of self doubts and rejections you face in the journey, and then when you have little to no money and little to no resources, that kind of helps you get a little bit of pragmatism in the journey and keep your emotions aside.
Right. So
Yeah.
this is really important, Prerna. Like you're right. At some point in time, you need to maybe just employ your rational mind more versus the emotions, because I'm sure if you've been at something and so committed for such an extended period of time, you
Yeah.
tend to feel very emotional about it, and you tend to feel, oh, maybe a little more. And like you said, you ask yourself that question, can I keep at it for a few more months? And just coming to that realization, array, ye to never ending journey hai. So that's very, I think just asking the right questions and the tough questions to yourself is very important.
Yeah, and the other thing is, don't attach your self-worth to this. I think very, very important, like because you give so much to the process, to the product, to everything,
Hmm.
somewhere you are not able to distinguish yourself from the venture, right? Which is not right. Like you are not, uh, like my self-worth is not just associated with this. I'm so much more than
And
what
this.
I'm building right now, right? This is what is making me who I am. It's a part of my journey, but this is
Hmm.
not my entire self-worth. So at times we as entrepreneurs tend to confuse that and we become even more attached.
Yeah.
So that helps you keep your rationality factor higher than your emotions if you don't attach your self-worth too much to the whole set.
Right, that is so bang on, Prerna. And this leads me to my last question. Like, what has been the most significant lesson that you will carry forward from the whole experience? Like, leaving the job, starting up, eventually moving out of it, coming back to the corporate world. So, what is the one or two most significant lessons? And what advice would you offer to individuals with entrepreneurial aspirations, but who are in those, stable jobs currently? Because you can
Yeah.
really, I think the smartest thing is to learn from other people's experiences
Mhm. Yeah.
rather than just, मतलब लाइफ में खुद कितना ही करोगे सब कुछ एक्सपीरियंस करने के लिए. So you are at that unique sort of a position to offer this advice.
Yeah. I think my biggest learning, and which is what I would want others to take away from, is that entrepreneurship looks very glamorous and cool on the outside, because that's how most others have put it out in the world. That's how I also perceived it. I thought it's super cool to be a co-founder, like clearly not prepared for what was there on the other side. Obviously, I knew there is a lot of hard work, bunch of things to, like, except for hard work, I had not really conceptualized in my head what else it means. So somewhere we need to understand that entrepreneurship is super hard. Keep the glamour and the cool quotient aside and evaluate whether you want to do entrepreneurship, even if it is so hard. Even if, are you really ready to let go of bunch of things, because you have to let go of a lot of things in that journey. So that is something you have to evaluate it very rationally, uh, before taking the plunge, which I don't think I did. I was, the journey sort of helped me prepare for it as it came through, but initially I had not thought of, because I always thought entrepreneurship looks so super cool. uh, like I don't think I went in for the money. I clearly went in for that, cool. Like there was this factor which influenced me. I'll be very honest. It sounds silly right now, but that is what kind of some part of it influenced me. That it looks super cool to be a co-founder,
Yeah.
but it is not. It is super hard. Um yeah, in terms of advice, I think this is something we did a lot while we were doing the pivots also. But so which I would advise to the rest of the folks. So try to create. This is something people do much later in their journey, but I would say even before you enter the entrepreneurship, even before you take a call, try to do this. Try to create this pitch deck. Like you will find a lot of standard pitch decks if you Google a bit. But the best is not even pitch deck. Like there is this book called Lean Starter. So you have a lean canvas framework on that. That
Mhm.
helps you ask all the right questions before you get started on your product. It's a
Okay.
little more exhaustive than when you are just starting,
Mhm.
but that helps you get some good questions which you need to know, and the
Mhm.
like a rough answer that you need to know, because
Right.
we saw that the canvas became easier and easier as we got more clarity on what we were trying to build. Initially it's very fuzzy, you put random stuff on that canvas, but
Mhm.
that helps you articulate, are you really ready in that journey, in a way more
Right.
from a product sense. uh, and basic things are essentially, is whatever problem statement you're trying to solve for, is the market for that big enough or not.
Right.
You have to do that little bit of research on your end.
Mhm.
And very important, like again, entrepreneurship is a very lonely journey. Like, do you
Mhm.
want a co-founder? I will always advise that you go for a co-founder, because it's super tough to do it alone.
Mhm.
Do you want a co-founder? How do you find the right co-founder?
Mhm.
Do you have complementary skills that you bring to the table? And do you, at least one of you has depth in the market in which you are trying to solve for? These are things which I also felt like we probably didn't ask when we started our journey. And this is something we realized over a period of time when we went through a bunch of VC interactions.
Mhm.
Uh, so, and I would want others to really think through this before they start their journey. So
Mhm.
there are some way, try to like either go for that lean canvas method that helps you more clarity on the product, or try to get do a sort of a rough pitch deck, not
Mhm.
like fancy pitch deck, just put stuff on that to get clarity on the questions
Right.
that you will get asked for or that you need to answer later.
Right.
And if possible, do some quick prototyping. When I say quick prototyping, अगर app बना रहे हो तो these days it's super easy to create tech products because there are a lot of no code, low code platforms, right?
Right.
You can get it done quickly if your product is tech heavy. If you're building some consumer thing, do a quick sense of demand by just like जिस society में रहते हो वहां पे आपने float किया,
Mhm.
and you just see quickly are people asking you questions कि ये कब मिलेगा,
Mhm.
कैसे मिलेगा. There has to be inherent demand for that, right? Do some quick
Mhm.
prototyping or a sense of demand check for you to
Mhm.
understand, is this even making sense?
Right.
And just don't go blind into it. And I feel the beauty of the current Indian startup ecosystem is a lot of things are much easier than it was 3, 4 years back, in terms of
Mhm.
tech, in terms of like in general acceptance of folks to like experiment, try out stuff.
Mhm.
So this initial journey, instead of walking in and then spending 6 months trying to do that, try to
Mhm.
do it a little bit in advance. That will be a more rational way of approaching it, is what I would say.
Mhm.
But then this also takes a lot of time. So I don't know. Like I would leave it to folks to take the best, because you know best how much time you have, how do you do it.
Right.
And I think I would like to say, in the end, irrespective of the outcome, this
Mhm.
journey is a very rewarding journey. But you
Right.
have to be mentally prepared for the constraints and what you stand to lose if it doesn't work.
Right. This is such a like practical advice, Prerna. Like what you said, right? Figure like right from your advice on this lean startup to just getting out there and just iterating or trying to do a lot of this research before you start off on that journey. Because I think
Yeah.
that gives you more runway when you are on the in the journey because you've already done good part of it before and then maybe you've just removed some of the things you think will not work out even before you sort of start off. But
Yeah.
like you said, it's to do with the people, to each their own, whether they have the time
Yeah.
to sort of do a lot of this heavy lifting ahead of starting the journey formally.
Yeah. True.
Thank you so much, Prerna. This was like really great. Thank you for making the time and being so candid in in all your answers and just going through the whole graph with us today. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope the listeners tuning in would love it too.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thanks for bringing me here. I'm glad that I finally was a part of the Rainmaker Stories. I love what you are trying to do through Rainmaker Stories. Although we didn't cover like the women, like how do they come into the picture. But like obviously I'm a woman, I'm trying to do solve something. But this was more uh, like how do you bring a startup on, like a startup founder's journey here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a minute and like say that what I love what you are separately what you are doing through Rainmaker Stories as well.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you so much, Prerna. And actually, this Rainmaker Stories exists because of all of us Rainmakers out there.
Yeah,
And it just gives me so much pleasure, like each person who tunes in, and if she has those
mm,
aspirations, she'll be like, oh yeah, so Prerna did try it, had that career, did try some, startup with her husband, has had that whole journey. It just makes it very easy when you can find a relatable story out there. So that's the,
totally.
aim of it. And thank you so much for being a part of it. Mm.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.